And I have never met a sketcher that wasn't fascinated by this subject. What the subject is, well, you know, we're all urban sketchers. And urban sketching is something quite different from sketching in a studio. When you are sketching in a studio, you have really all of the comforts, and everything that you need is near at hand. And you've got to be pretty clever to go out and brave, to go out into the streets and in public to sketch. And we're all creative people, and you know, that's evident in all of the artwork we create, but it's also evident in the solutions that we find to the problems. So what are the problems? The problems are bringing everything that you want or that you will need with you in a way that won't leave you crippled from carrying luggage and backpacks and all sorts of additional weight. And I've just been fascinated by the solutions that my fellow sketchers have come up with. And I've spent the last 8 or 9 months collecting solutions and immediately showing up here at the Symposium in Manchester. I think I've taken something like 15 photographs of things that just knocked me out. You know, really clever solutions that hadn't occurred to me. And I think what I've realized is that this is an ongoing study. So I would invite you to participate with me in this study. And as you see things during the rest of the year or even here, please email them to me. And you'll see the submissions I've got. So really what I'm looking for is sort of a little bit of a write-up about, you know, what the solution is and maybe a photograph or so. One of the solutions I've got is not kind of a hacked solution, but a store-bought solution. And it's so clever and solves so many of the problems that we've got, I could not include it in the presentation. And word got to the manufacturer and actually have one of these that I can give out. It's a somewhat expensive item, and the fair thing to do seemed to me to be to create kind of a list. And what I'd like you to do, I'm going to pass this around. If you could put your name and keep the numbering system going. I'm going to ask one of the board members to just arbitrarily pick one of the numbers from, there are 2 sessions from this, you know, maybe 1 to 50 or whatever it is, and I will contact you with the free prize, and I'll show you what the free prize is. So please participate.
Thank you.
So that's by way of the warm-up. Our choices are kind of guided by the weight of things. I recently worked out a solution for an easel and was measuring the ounces and the grams to make sure that it was the very lightest possible solution. I think my most interesting observation this year or find is exactly what I'm wearing now, and it's a vest. And my thinking on this subject started I guess it was in Brazil at the symposium that we had there. And does anybody know who Frank Ching is? You're an architect. Nope, really? Okay. Frank Ching is, you know, an old-time urban sketcher. He's written many architectural textbooks. He's a wonderful artist. And when you see him go out, there's me in my heavy backpack, and I'm still carrying a heavy backpack. Sometimes I've got another thing that has a chair or an easel. And there's Frank, and he's wearing this very small kind of a map container. And he seems to be carrying nothing. And when you ask him, well, what do you have in there? He takes out one notebook, one fountain pen, and one cartridge. And he's carrying everything he needs, and it's over his shoulder. That's gotten me thinking. And the solution of having a vest like this with just a million pockets, and I think these things are called fisherman's vest or camera person vest or something like that. But I actually have everything I need right on me now to go sketching for an entire day. And there the contents are sort of laid out. So what you're looking at is a small sketchbook. It's not a large sketchbook. That's a moleskin. I've got a ruler. I've got some napkins for cleaning my brushes. I've got a water brush. I've got 3 travel brushes there. I've got a tiny palette, and I'll have more to say about these tiny palettes. I've got earphones for pleasure if I want to listen to music. The blue container there, I don't even think that's featured, but if you're not familiar with it, have you, anybody used Frisket in their paintings? Yes, no, maybe? Sometimes, this seems to be the best solution for Frisket that I have found. It doesn't need a brush. The applicator comes with it. It's in one of my pockets. Well, you can see the picture. There's an atomizer there. There are business cards. There's my iPhone. Really, everything you need for a successful day of sketching, hands-free. So this idea of being self-contained, John Alsop contacted me and showed me the setup that he's got. This is a store-bought solution, but it's a backpack that has a kind of a built-in chair. So really everything that he needs is there. And it seems like just a wonderful solution. I've tried out many stools, and I know that there's a lot of controversy about that, you know, comfort versus weight, stability versus weight. And there's a great sketch there by Sylvia of John sketching. And John is with the Oxford Sketchbook sketching group. This is a field art bag. It's manufactured by Darcy Beck. And if you haven't seen one of these things, you look at it and it's absolutely brilliant. There's a built-in mechanism that forms a ledge, and you put the thing around you, and it's a stable surface, and you can paint on it. And it's really a self-contained system. And that is what I'm asking you to sign your names to receive one of these. It costs, I want to say, something less than about $100 US. So it's worth signing your name for. They were very generous. This bag has been reviewed by several urban sketchers. The drawing was done by Rosine, who is in Galway. That's a picture of Alan sketching. Alan Wernke is a New York sketcher, and there he is on a winter day standing up and sketching. The bag is small, so it sort of forces you not to take too much. How many people go out and take too much with them? What is that about? Janil is in the Philippines, and his orientation, you know, his big find has been military gear. And what he says is that military gear is made rugged and made so that everything is convenient. And he's really got 2 solutions that I think are absolutely brilliant. The military people in a lot of different countries wear a lot of paraphernalia around their thigh, and it's convenient and keeps it out of the way. He says that you can't load too much into it, and that's probably a good thing for us. Take a look at his second solution. He has a wrist strap, and he's added magnets to it. And he's got a field palette that is made out of metal, and the thing just balances there. Turn it upside down, turn it right side up, and it's always there. So I looked at this thing and wondered to myself, that's so smart. I wonder if there isn't such a thing, you know, that's out on the market. And lo and behold, what I discovered was that there is such a device, and it's often used by carpenters and other people in the trades to hold on to the metallic things. It's not particularly expensive. It's got the magnets built in and a Velcro strap. And look, there it can be used with a palette as well. So this is an idea that I learned from Liz Steele from Australia a couple of years ago, and thought that it was just brilliant. There was one time that my metal palette container opened up in my bag. I'm not sure how that happened. But what she has is either a used sock that she's cut or a tennis sweatband. She keeps the band around the palette and tucks in brushes or pens or whatever she needs. But then when she's ready, she puts that band on her wrist. She has a brush in her hand, palette. She cleans her brush right on her wrist, and everything she needs is self-contained. Now, if you look at this thing, one of the things you'll notice is that this solution sort of forces you to use a water brush. Well, why? Because the water is not really accounted for in this solution. And I think there's been you could argue with me on this, but I think there's been a growing kind of movement among urban sketchers kind of away from water brushes. They're a wonderful solution, and I love them, but they are sort of a blunt instrument, and a much finer instrument is a brush. So trying to deal with that as a problem. This is a sheet of Gator Board. Gator Board is sturdy and weighs almost nothing. It can be cut with an X-Acto knife, and by cutting a thumb hole, you can hold the thing like an easel. The strip that you see that's sort of dark is a magnetic strip. It has adhesive on one side, so like the solutions that we've seen before you, it'll hold your palette. In fact, looking there in the corner, there's the thing sort of being held upside down, and it stays there. And on the right side is a hole that's cut for a well for a bottle. In this case, I think it's an old medicine bottle of some sort, but filling it with water, holding that in your hand, you have absolutely everything you need. And then the last refinement to this solution was adding strips of paper that could be used to test colors before you commit. So I think this is a pretty cool setup right there. And you can see that in the photograph that I'm actually wearing the sweatband on that. So there are a whole lot of solutions from people that like the metal palette idea. They didn't want to buy the metal palette, or the metal palette was too thick and they wanted to customize it. And Suzala found a eye makeup container that was suitable for the kind of changes that she wanted. And this is a tiny thing. You can see from the size of the water brush just how small and how flat it is. This is a somewhat reverse approach. Katie found a small container in a store and then went to a makeup store to find the containers, the metal containers. She lined the inside of this thing with adhesive on one side to hold the colors in, and spray painted the other side with a gloss white paint. Voila, she has an instant solution. And there you can see her set up on her painting surface. Jason, who used to be the president of Urban Sketchers, has a couple of interesting hacked solutions. He got a business card. In fact, I'm walking around with a business card, my many pockets over here. He found something like this. And it's something that you would keep cards in. So here's my business card. And he hacked it. He changed the thing, and what he did was he had little metal strips, little plastic strips in there. And I think in order to dry the plastic strips, he put them in an oven, and the plastic melted, and the plastic strips kind of became a non-solution for him. And then he kind of went, the hell with it. What's the theory about having each color in a separate compartment when you're going to be mixing them anyway? And it's a free-for-all, and I think he calls this happy chaos. And I love the solution. And it's, if you know Jason, it's, sort of part of his personality to go for a thing like that. I will be back to you on something else that Jason created in a little bit. The question about what do you do with water is another issue. And I really like Suzala again, found the palette cups that oil painters use and clip to the side of their palette. She found a bottle that fits this thing perfect. It's a standard bottle. It's sold all over the place, and they're secure. And she has one for dirty water and one for clean water. And it is I think, a pretty neat solution. Mia was a pianist and was out sketching one day, and perhaps this has happened to you. Strong wind came along, and she finds, that she's fighting with the wind to keep a steady surface. And she repurposed something that she had on a piano bench, which was a little holder that keeps your piano book open, and this helps her fight the wind. Love this one. Kusi is one of the founders of the Sketchbook School, a kind of a sister organization, if you will, to urban sketchers, or certainly something that we're sympathetic to. And this is a solution that was made by her dad, who kind of came up with this on his own. It is mounted on a wristband that sort of looks like this. I mean, it's tiny, and it's just there all of the time. Little tiny compartments. Probably Jason would argue that the little tiny compartments are unnecessary and kind of let the colors be free. But it's a cool solution, and the top of it, of course, is your mixing surface. I've seen a few people that have solutions like Elise's, and I must confess that the photographs I've got really are kind of not doing justice to this, because what you're looking at folds, and I haven't got a folded version of this. So when you see Elisa out, she has a portfolio underneath her arm that she opens up, and with clips she's able to make it one large surface, and she works fairly large. There is a magnet on the corner that holds her palette when she's ready to work. And there's room on the side, of course, for her colors and all. I think it's just a really brilliant solution. And I've seen a number of people that have had it here in Manchester. And one woman that I was talking to last night is using roofing material. But it was exceptionally sturdy, but also very lightweight. It might be the sort of material you'd use perhaps in a greenhouse, because it was sort of clear-ish. The picture of the guy on a stool is me. Joan was sitting behind me, and that's a well-known bar. It's one of the oldest bars in New York City. And Joan likes a crisp edge, and she's experimented with a lot of different types of tape. And there's artist tape and there's masking tape, and her feedback is that neither of these works as well as she would like, that when you remove the tape, it tears the paper. And Joan's feedback is that the best solution that she's found is this blue painter's tape, which is common in the US and maybe all over. Her second insight is you never use the tape just as it is. You take the tape out and put it on your pants and try to get rid of as much of the stickiness as possible. And then when you pull the tape off, pull it toward you so that you don't tear the picture. But she gets these really crisp looking watercolors that I love. Marion is with Urban Sketchers Paris, and with a sewing machine created a roll that she brings out with her, and it has her brushes and her pens and everything that she needs, and she travels with it. It's a nice, neat solution. Shirley Levine makes these. And I have one with me that I'm using. And I don't know if you can see it here, but there are New York City taxi cabs on the fabric. But there's a pocket here that keeps everything that you need, and you're ready. Another one of these solutions where you could have everything you need without having the backpack and way too much. That might actually be the theme of this talk, how to avoid way too much. Shirley has published a how-to on this. And if you're curious, I will send you the link. Pedro in Portugal got a gift, or maybe purchased it for himself, but it was a tin of chocolates. And he ate all the chocolates and then kept the tin and repurposed it. And I think the cool thing that he did was he took the pencils, which of course are much too large for that, and he cut them in half. And that's what makes this thing a workable solution. And I kind of went, brilliant insight. And I'll add to Pedro's solution by saying, if the idea of working with a stubby pencil is a little repugnant to you, there of course are these wonderful pencil extensions. And you can add that to your kit. Has anybody taken Ed Harkin's course here at the Symposium? Wonderful presentation. One of Ed's solutions that didn't make this cut is he has double, let me see if I can show you a demo of this. He takes two drawing things and connects them with tape so that they sort of look like this. And they're both together, and you can just flip them over. And I went, man, that's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? How many DVD containers do you have at home? Stacy repurposed a DVD container so that it is a sketching tool. On the left side, you have pre-cut sheets of paper. And there's her pencil, colored pencil collection. They could, of course, be watercolor pencils. And you could have, water or water brush handy. Suhita, who is one of the instructors here, was at a party and went to try sketching and realized, yeah, she had a pencil or a pen, but she didn't have her watercolors. And she looked around and she had some lip balm, and it was sort of a beige kind of color. And she applied it to the paper and smeared it and kind of went, this works. And following that up, she was at another party, different party, and this time used lipstick. And Shari's comment on this was this could be a new trend. We could be replacing art supplies with makeup. I love being part of an organization that can embrace creative solutions. Wen Yi is not an urban sketcher. He's in Beijing, and we just recently added a sketching group in Beijing. Ying sketches with us in New York City, but also visits Beijing frequently and sketches with both groups, and turned up information about this guy, Wen Yi. So Wen Yi's thing is that he'll go out for a day, an art day, and he will find materials, a torn cardboard box or whatever it is, and then he'll sit down wherever he finds the thing and draws whatever it is that's there, and then leaves the thing as a finished art piece. And there's so much, packed into that seems so fascinating. The fact that he's going out empty-handed and he's using found objects to make art, that's pretty cool in itself. But that he leaves the art there is even more mind-boggling. There's a Zen saying that the only things you keep are the things that you give away. And I'm reminded when I think about the work he does. And he's pretty good, right? We have a sketching group in South Africa, in Stellenbosch, and Fawa sent me a list of the things that he absolutely has to have when he goes out. And one of them is toilet paper, and he says, that's for just what you'd expect, but also it's just a great thing to have, as a paper medium. The second most important thing, to him was to have spray, to activate the watercolor that he's using. The third is a bottle of is a tape. So he's another guy that's going after the crisp edges. And I love his number 4, bottle of red wine with a real glass, et cetera, et cetera. And I like the way he's working in books and doing his artwork right on established media. This is from Kenneth Williams. He's in Arkansas, and he has, I think I have some travel brushes on me, and they're really wonderful items and all, but they're somewhat expensive. And here Kenneth came up with a way of making them yourself. So what he says is that you take a brush that you like, and find an old junky fountain pen that no longer works, and combine the two. Cutting the brush, putting a holder in, sizing the thing so that it's the right size, and the top will go on. I love the idea, and I think it's very clever. The one caution I would say is when you get a travel brush, it has an air hole that keeps the sable or whatever it is from rotting. So you would really sort of need to be careful to dry this brush out at the end of the day. But with that exception, I think this is really kind of a creative solution. Anybody taken KK's course? KK is a sketching marvel. I first met KK in Brazil. I don't think at the time I knew who he was. He had just arrived, and his entire group sort of went off to put their luggage away. He took his luggage, walked out, sat down in front of a church, squatted down. He's from Penang, and took out a board and took out a collection of twigs. And I went with him to sketch. And he kept dipping these twigs, things that you'd find in the garden or the forest or something, and then proceeded to make incredible art with this. And once he sort of had the thing down as a twig drawing, and it was all black using India ink, then he put color on top of it. And the color, the imagery was just gorgeous. So, one of the really brilliant things about his solution, and there are a number of urban sketchers, Veronica Lawler, for instance, works with a dip bottle and a steel pen. And I once asked her, how do you keep from getting the India ink all over yourself? And she laughed. And the answer is there's really no way. KK has a solution, and what he does is he has a bottle of ink and he puts a piece of gauze inside of it. The gauze absorbs all of the ink and is basically sort of wet, but not so wet that if you turn the bottle over that anything would pour out. But as soon as you put the twig in, or your steel pen, or whatever it is you're sketching with, it comes out wet. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I just love this solution. And take a look at his artwork. It's just wonderful. So he did a pro and con, and it turns out, as far as KK is concerned, there is no con to sketching with twigs. You get a variety of lines. You can vary the texture. It's environmentally friendly. It's cheap, and there's nothing on the negative side. I wish I could identify who this really came from. There was a guy in Dubai that posted this, and Suzala found it and did a screen capture. And then when I went to try to find it so I could give credit to the person, the video was, I couldn't find it at any rate. But this really seems like a cool solution. So here's the observation that this guy in Dubai had. He had a Kuretake brush. Are you familiar with the Kuretake brush? Pentel makes a similar one. It's a brush pen that's loaded with something like India ink or perhaps India ink. So it's a waterproof ink, and it can be a very sensitive line, or you can sort of do it on its side and get a swash of black. And there's a lot of really good things you can do with it. Of course, it's very hard to control and takes a lot of practice, like pretty much everything we're doing here. The problem with it is that it has a little tiny reservoir, and you need to walk around with cartridges or bottles of ink. The other observation that this guy had was that his brush pens had a huge reservoir, but they're a blunt instrument. They're not really a very good tool for creating fine artwork. Put the two together. And he mounted the Kuretake brush head on top of the huge reservoir and is able to use the two as a combination. Back to Jason. This is not Jason's idea, although it was submitted to me by him. It's actually shamelessly stolen from Lapin. Lapin made the observation that he just can't keep his yellows clean. And as soon as I heard him say that, I kind of went, that's right. I mean, I'm just always fighting to keep the yellows pure. So what he does is he loaded one of his water brushes up with yellow pigment. So he always has a clean yellow to work with when he needs one, when he's not mixing. Well, Jason sort of took it one step further and loaded, the primary colors in. He makes the observation that this is a good sketching system. You could conceivably just go out and do every color possible, with your three primaries, or you could use them as a way to supplement and highlight colors or tone things down. And it's a cool solution. So how many pencil sharpeners have you owned over the course of your sketching career? I have never owned a pencil sharpener that I didn't start by loving and end up hating. They all fall short one way or the other. And the art school business of using a razor blade just seems like such a pain. And in my hands, it's somewhat dangerous. This solution is one that I still like. I mean, I haven't quite hated it yet. And it's got the three-barrel solution, has the neat property of creating a point that's really extra long, kind of that art school, pencil shape. And it seems to work like a champ. This is available on Amazon, and if you sort of search for it in a logical way, you can find it. Things that make parallel lines. Seems if you're an architect, you've probably seen this thing. If you, haunt art stores, maybe you've seen it. Really nice item. It's a ruler that has a roller. So when you combine the ruler and the roller, you can just bring it down the page, and every line you make is a parallel line. And it's got holes in it, and by using the holes, you can swing things around and make circles and arches and hatching, and it's just sort of a brilliant item. It's not especially handy to carry. There's a 12-inch one and a 6-inch one. And the 6-inch one is the one that I sometimes carry with me. Now we're going to go to the outer edges of urban sketching. And you could argue with the next two things. Andrew is a brilliant paper artist. And he creates these books that look as if they belong in museums, and they are visually playful and combine a lot of things. He's a fascinating artist and an interesting guy. He uses stencils in what he does. So he has a stencil of a skyline And I'll tell you that it's a pre-made stencil, so it sort of looks like any great city's skyline, but he'll put that down and then he starts adding things that are right there in front of him. And I was standing right next to him as he, sketched the Brooklyn Bridge there on the left, and this is a view from Brooklyn looking at Manhattan. You could argue that this really isn't urban sketching, but let me challenge you on your thinking on that. If he had created the stencil himself, standing in front of the buildings, cutting the paper, and then used it over and over again, would that then be urban sketching? And I'm not sure what the answer is. And frankly, I sort of, I love creativity, so kind of who cares? But I think this is very interesting. And if you think that's interesting, watch the next one. So this is done by Joy Hecht. Joy is doing collage art, and she will sit on a street, and she's got sheets of colored paper and scissors, and she's arranging this. And this is one of the most creative things I've seen. I mean, when I first saw it, it just blew me away, how creative this thing was. And she's getting deeper and deeper into it. These pictures are actually a couple of months old, and the thing is rapidly progressing, and it really seems like a fascinating direction to explore. So I teach art. I teach a drawing course, and one of the classes that I ran, I asked the students, hey, guys, if I could show you a simple trick that would enable you to draw absolutely anything that you wanted and have it look great, and really, it takes absolutely no practice at all, would you like to learn that? And every hand went up. Everybody wants to learn that trick. And I burst out laughing. Of course everybody wants to learn that trick. And of course the answer is there is no such trick like that. And this was the introduction to a course in measuring things. And if there is a trick, the ability to go, well, that's 3 of these units. I mean, that's how you can draw anything. And it's not an easy trick and blah, blah, blah. But they were good-natured about it. But this thing has had me thinking, what if there was a thing like that? So I passed this board around. Let me show you a simple trick that will allow you to draw absolutely anything that you would like. So what you need for this is a clear plexiglass board, an erasable marker, and maybe a tissue, to clean the board later. So pick a subject that you'd like to sketch, hold the thing up, and then just simply draw the outline. Part 1. Part 2. Now you've got the finished drawing. On a sunny day, just hold it above a piece of paper, and now you've got the outline, and you just simply transfer it. Voila, not so much. So, I mean, being realistic, as somebody like you who's invested a considerable amount of time trying to learn how to draw things, it's a clever solution. And you laughed, I laughed at it, but the problem is that it is nearly impossible to hold the thing up steady. Moreover, you lose every bit of possible creativity that you would like. There is a course that's going on at our workshop of doing sketching cars. Lepon and Juried Michel are teaching, and one of the things they have you do is, stand 3 meters from the car and then 1 meter from the car and then fill the entire thing up. And there's sort of a fisheye distortion that goes on. There's all kinds of things that you do when you take your creativity and try to capture the scene in front of you. And all of that is out with this as a solution. Moreover, the finished thing that you get, with the shadow and all, is such a crude drawing that it takes considerable art skill to turn it into anything that would be presentable. And I got to tell you, in the end, it's, I think we're on the right path, and the solution here is actually not the right path. Okay, the end of my presentation is something that really is intriguing me. I went to a show and I'm not sure how to describe what kind of show it was, but there was a booth and there was a woman there who had those Oculus goggles. These are the 360-degree goggles. And I wanted to try that. I've never experienced this 3D thing where you've got the headset on. So she invited me and I put the thing on. And there was a village in Africa that she had visited with a 360-degree camera. And when you looked in the front, you saw what the camera was seeing. But also when you looked at the side, there was the side. And if you looked up, there was the roof. And if you looked down, there was the floor. And if you turned around in a complete circle, you saw everything in a complete circle. And it is incredibly, I don't know what to say. I mean, it just so far exceeds the experience of watching a flat screen. You couldn't help but be drawn to this thing. Okay, so that's part one. Part two, there's the Pokemon craze that's going on now, where everybody's walking around, with a camera, and there's reality, and they're chasing after this Pokemon thing, which is superimposed on reality. So let's take that, and let's take our urban sketching sensibilities and meld that on top. Google has come out with a product called the Tilt Brush. And the Tilt Brush is essentially an engine. And in its raw form, what you do is you put the goggles on and you pick up the paintbrush, the tilt paintbrush, and you decide what color you want, and you are painting in the air. And there are some incredible videos on YouTube, and it just really looks cool. And the paint that you're painting with can be opaque and transparent, and we're creative people, and it really looks like it would be fun. So that's step three. Step four, though, is when you marry the Pokemon sensibility, where you're merging reality with this tool, with that Google Tilt. And imagine you in the city looking at the street, but also picking up a paintbrush and painting, a virtual creation right on top of what you're seeing. And it's a whole new direction. And I'm intrigued by the possibilities there. And that brings to a close my presentation. Do you have any questions? Well, in the same way that when you work on an iPad, you don't have a physical thing, but you've got something that can be printed. Yeah. And depending on how you did it, it would either be a static image of a city with whatever you created, or it could conceivably be a movie that you would play. Or it would be a movie that you'd play and you'd view with goggles so that you could actually be in the creation and be in the city. I don't know.
Like the Pokemon thing, that you could plant them around so other people could see them?
I don't know.
Walk through a city
I don't
and see
know.
the
Yeah.
virtual artworks that
Yeah.
are placed in locations?
Well, like a lot of things, what Google has created is the raw engine, and the applications that spin out from it remain to be seen. I mean, I'm just projecting what could be. I don't know that anybody will, with the programming skills necessary to do it. I certainly don't have it, but maybe. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, so did everybody get a chance to write their name down? There's another session of this that's going to happen tomorrow, and after that session's over, I'm going to hand this list to the board or ask them to pick a number, and at the closing reception, we will announce who won the thing. And we'll call your name out and hand it to you. Thank you all. Oh, and please, during the year, should you find something that should have been in my presentation, please send it to me. I mean, this is a passion.